Hey Emma,
Yes, Malin.
what do you call the part of my muscle that I injured while playing Drag and Drive in a fictional world where I have a Switch 2 and I've played this game?
I don't know. What do you call it?
I call it the Terraria. Hello and welcome to Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
I'm your unkillable NPC guide, host Madeline.
I'm your denim-stained Joy-Con 2 host, Emma.
And thanks for tuning in to this week's show. This week, we're talking about Terraria. And we're talking about Drag and Drive. Otherwise known as Drag X Drive. Otherwise known as Drag Drive, which I think is the superior title.
You're right, it is Terraria.
I looked that one up too.
I feel like I've always said Terraria.
Yes, so have I. But it's Terraria.
And that makes more sense because it's terrain and terrarium.
Yeah, but it looks like Latin.
Sure. You would know better than me.
Looks like Latin. Anyway, yeah, let's jump right in. Let's burrow right in. Let's sandbox on in. To Terraria, which is a 2011 sandbox action-adventure-y game from Relogic, published by 505, originally on Steam, now, like, pretty much anywhere that you want to play games. And it's a big old sandbox 2D SNES-style art. Like, it's Minecraft if it was sort of Metroid-y and 2D.
Yeah. When it was initially created, it was mainly Andrew Spinks and some assistants. I don't believe they had officially formed, like, a real team yet.
Yeah, it was, like, out of his living room.
Yeah. And since then, it has been consistently updated with free content. And a lot of the current team is a bunch of people who used to be, like, big parts of the community, like modders. It has a really big modding scene, which is fun.
Terraria is another one of those blast from the past games that it's really, really, really popular. It's a game that I read about and I'm sort of like, ooh, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that would scratch the right itch in my brain. Hard to know for sure. I don't love Minecraft.
Mm-hmm.
But because this feels like it has, like, a little bit more progression than at least my, like, mostly outside perspective of Minecraft.
Minecraft does have progression if you want it to.
Sure.
But Terraria is, from what I was reading about it, one of the main ways it distinguishes itself from Minecraft is it is kind of more combat focused.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it has the similar, like, there's the day-night cycle, and you want to make shelter for yourself, and the monsters come at night, and whatever. But also, there's just a little bit more, like, yeah, you can find monsters when you're exploring in Minecraft too, but that's more of a focus in Terraria.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of a Metroidvania feel to it, even though it's a procedurally generated sandbox.
Yeah.
So yeah, in Terraria, you're a little dude. You run around collecting resources and mining ore and digging holes and fighting monsters and occasionally bosses. And you use those resources to build things or to develop better armor or better weapons. And you use that to get more resources, right? It's a sandbox game.
Yes. You can also lure in various NPCs to come live with you. You can make them little houses and they will stay and offer you services that they have. And it's also extremely, extremely big now.
Yeah.
There is a lot of content.
Started with 250 items in the game, now has 3,800 items.
Yeah. And it's not very, like, oh, like, here's your checklist. Like Minecraft, it's not very like, here's your checklist of things that you can make and stuff that you can do and so on and so forth. The PC Gamer review, which was like in 2018, I believe. So like a mid-stage review of Terraria, was saying that like you can play for a really long time and not realize that like there's floating islands, or like there's an evil robot Santa Claus that drops the elf melter. And so there's just sort of a feeling of like you can spend a lot of time in this game and still feel like you haven't actually seen everything that is in the game.
And to some extent, the reason for that is because this game has resisted the siren song of microtransactions. It's the rare breed of game these days. And look, to be clear, and they've been very clear about this in interviews. They're like, this game has sold millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of copies. So we don't, like, it's sold, I think I read it was more than 60 million copies since launch at this point. It's on the Wikipedia best-selling games of all time list, which is not the same. I did it in the same voice, but that's just fact.
Different list.
Yeah. And so they've talked to the development team at various points of saying, you know, like when we released one of our first big updates, you know, we probably could have charged everyone 50 cents for that, right? And people would have paid it, and they would have paid it gladly, and they would have been like honored to pay it, and we would have made millions of dollars. But we didn't do that because we didn't need to.
Yeah.
Because this game already sold, you know.
And it sounds like it continues to sell for them. It's not even just like they sold a bunch at the start and now it's like a trickle. Like it seems like it still sells games for them.
Yeah, it was interesting too, because Terraria has received, and we'll talk about this, significant updates on a semi-regular basis over the course of its life. And because it had sort of a big, like, it got ported to consoles, right, and people reviewed it. It has reviews that exist and cite sales figures sort of like throughout the 2010s. And yes, it was notable to me that like the 10-year retrospective was like, it's sold 35 million copies or something like that. I'm like, oh, that was like 5 years ago. So I guess they've sold another 30 million copies. It's also like we talked about Silk Song coming out and being like an unfair $20.
Yeah.
Right? This game released at a price of $9.99, and you can still, on Steam at least, I think it might be more expensive on consoles, but on Steam, you can still buy it for $9.99. Less if you want to get 4 copies of it and give it to your friends. So it's amazing what you can do when you have a game that you developed in your bedroom sell millions of copies. You actually don't have to fall into the AAA capitalist grind of having to sell microtransactions only to pay for your game.
Yeah.
And so because of that, they've, you know, released all of these really massive free updates to the game without ever charging anyone more. And I think that's paid dividends in community loyalty and also in this game that encourages you to keep coming back and looking for new things and finding new things.
I mean, even outside of like the official content that they've added to, as I said, they're very encouraging of the modding scene also, right? Like a lot of their team is now people who started making mods in Terraria. And so even if you somehow run out of official content, there's still tons and tons of community created content that you could engage with if you so chose.
Which is itself out of a different era. We don't let anybody mod anything anymore, really, in a like intentional, supported way.
Because everybody wants to make them naked.
Look, yes.
That's why. So
yeah.
People out there have an inexplicable urge. Just be like, yeah, I want to play this, but I want the characters to be naked. Nothing else.
It's probably pretty splicable.
It's inexplicable to me. It doesn't even seem like it's like sexy. It's just like, yeah, those sure are.
It's a butt.
They sure are naked. I don't know.
Anyway, it sure is a shame that Terraria ceased adding new content in 2012.
This was so funny.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's not funny. I don't know. I don't actually know the personal situation that led to Andrew Spinks saying that he wanted to stop and then immediately changing his mind. So, I don't know. But yeah, like a year after release, he said, "We're having another baby." And
because his wife's on the development team also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, he said, "We're having another baby, and we're gonna hang out with them.
Yeah.
And we'll probably do another bug fix or whatever, but no more new content."
Here's what happened. The baby came out and said, "I want more Terraria."
Yeah. That must have
It
been
said,
it.
"I've been playing this in the womb."
His first word was Terraria. And then pretty soon after that, he was like, "Okay, but if we did an update, what would you want to see?"
Yeah.
And then in 2013, he was talking about, or the development team was talking about, like, "Oh yeah, we're thinking we're going to make Terraria 2.
Yeah.
Because the code base for Terraria sucks."
Yeah, it's on some kind of old Microsoft system that's wildly, wildly, wildly out of date.
It's on Microsoft XNA, which Microsoft stopped backing in 2013.
Whoops.
So maybe that's also partially why they're like, "Well, we can't use this anymore, so maybe we should make Terraria 2. But apparently that didn't happen for some reason. They just decided to keep doing Terraria. And now, this year, they are approaching what they think is probably the final update.
I think that's a joke.
You do?
Yeah, because they released, so the 2012 they did a final update. Then I think they had another one in like 2016 or so. They were like, "This is the final update." And in 2020 they released one literally called Journey's End, where they were like, "This is it. This is the end." And now they released another supposedly final update this year. Like, I think it's a joke at this point. It's certainly a joke for the community, and it seems to me like it's a joke the developers are in on. Now, how much of the like, "Oh, we're really approaching the end" is genuine? Like, I guess eventually it has to be genuine, but it is at this point a little bit hard to determine, like, are you saying that because you know it's a meme?
Yeah. I don't know.
It's an interesting situation, right? They talk about this, the dev team, in interviews periodically, and seemingly in a like good-spirited way, mostly these ways. I mean, certainly this game has to have made all of these people very rich, given the size of the team and the number of sales. But they've talked about in interviews like over the past 5 years, and really over the whole life of the game, being like, there's so much demand for this. It's sold so many copies, and people are just nonstop wanting new content. And not in a, like, Fortnite, they must be feeding them new content every 2 weeks way, but just there's always a desire for more. And when you've got 60 million copies of a game out there, it's hard to justify not doing that. So this comes up sometimes, right? Those like shackles of success. If you make something that's good, you kind of get stuck. Like you have to keep making it, even if you would want to work on something else. And that does seem to be what has happened here, even though they project an element of good humor about it that sometimes doesn't go along with that.
I mean, it's hard to know, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, as I've said, a lot of their staff is community members. So I imagine there is internal enthusiasm about the game still, too. And there have been, like, gaps between updates, like you said. Like, this one is 3 years out from their last one. So they went 3 years without doing anything. I feel like I saw somewhere that they were saying, like, we haven't, like, been sitting here between updates.
Yeah.
I don't remember where I saw that or if I imagined it, but I thought I saw something that implied like we're maybe thinking about we're maybe working on something else also.
Mm.
But yeah, it's just hard to know, like, because I don't know if I really agree with that. Like, obviously there's a desire for more, but I feel like if this dev team was like, here's our new game, that would have an equal amount of enthusiasm, you know?
I mostly just mean to say there's it's an interesting and rare situation to be in, right? To have a game that is continuing to generate, like, not through microtransactions, right? People are just apparently continuing to purchase the game, right?
Yeah.
And where are we now? Like, almost 15 years later. And that's a really weird situation to be in on a number of levels, right? Even if I'm Nintendo, right? And I have games that people continue to buy, right? A 15-year-old Nintendo game, like, how would I play that? It would be on the Nintendo Wii, right?
Sure.
So it's a rare situation to have a 15-year-old game that people are still buying, I guess, millions of copies of every year, and be a development team of like 12. Yeah. Right? Theoretically, you don't need to do anything. You are Valve, you know?
Yeah. True.
You've founded Steam here, and you don't ever need to make a game again. But it's interesting to see. Yeah, like I would be interested to see, like, okay, like, how much do those new updates drive new sales? And because what is this studio called? Relogic has not really made. They have like a couple of other games, but has not really done anything but Terraria that's been like especially impactful. So it's weird, right? It's like a winning the lottery situation. It's like winning the lottery, but you have to keep drawing lottery tickets or something. I can't think of another studio, maybe actually maybe not on this size, right? But like, okay, maybe if you made GTA 5, you can do whatever you like. You're in that situation, right? That game probably continues to sell.
Really, GTA Online, right?
That's true. Or Skyrim, all right?
Well,
but there's
Bethesda seems to have trouble. I don't know. They got bought.
Sure,
so.
that's fair. I'm just like, it's hard for me to even to think of very many other games that have put companies in this situation at all over this period of time. It's really unique.
Sure. I was gonna make some joke about how Nintendo couldn't even support Animal Crossing over the life cycle of the Switch,
and
yet there is an Animal Crossing update coming for the Switch.
They're back, baby.
So. What do I know?
Well, see, that's interesting. Terraria, actually, I was thinking about this as I was preparing for the show. Terraria scratches, theoretically anyway, the part of my brain that I sometimes wish Animal Crossing past like the first month or so would scratch. Right? It's like, there's real and genuine progression here. And Animal Crossing, which is like, I mean, is not a sandbox, it's a sim, but like those two things go hand in hand to a certain extent. I need that progression. I need the number to go up.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like I played the so the new Animal Crossing I do think hits on this because they added like crafting and stuff.
Yeah.
The old Animal Crossings I do not think are very similar to like this or like Minecraft, honestly.
I'm thinking of New Horizons specifically.
Yeah.
It's just interesting to think of them as like two ends of a spectrum here.
It's also like, it's interesting because the design ethos is quite different. So I think my problem with New Horizons was that it's really checklisty. And this is not checklisty at all. Right. You do not have a checklist.
Yeah.
Like you can make progress, but it's not like checking off marks for you to show your progress.
And can you believe it took them years to add fishing?
Behind the times.
Would never have done it that way today.
They didn't know. They didn't know about fishing.
Imagine how many copies they would have sold.
No, it probably would have ruined it. People would have looked back on it and said, Terraria, they knew the fishing was coming. They were just too early, you know?
Ahead of their time. Do you think the game that they're working on is canceled Terraria open world RPG, Terraria Otherworld?
I don't know. I didn't even see that.
Yeah, they in 2015 they were like, "Oh, we're taking like the Terraria world, like the idea of it, but we're making like a big like open world like RPG thing." And fans were really excited. They were like, "Oh my god, like Terraria, but it's an RPG, like really cool." And then in like 2018, they were like, "Actually, we don't think this game's going to be good." So, we're not doing it.
Fair.
Itself a wild position to be able to be in though, right? Because like that game would not have had to have been very good and it would have sold a lot of copies.
Damn, so I even missed a step on my timeline of they keep trying not to work on just Terraria.
Yeah. They were like, please let us out.
They gotta learn another system first, I guess. Then their antiquated Microsoft software.
Is it? I mean, I guess it must be. It's like still the console ones. I know are not. I know they had to like redo those, or they had contractors redo those basically. But I guess the original must still be running on.
I don't see how it could not be.
That's crazy. Was your impression that the reason it got big in the first place that the Minecraft guy tweeted about it and that's all it took?
I don't know. I remember, I don't know what the original impetus was, but I do remember a lot of people on YouTube playing it. And that's just kind of that era. That was just kind of how your game got successful.
It's cool how the advice for releasing an indie game today should be, you should have made it in 2010.
Yeah, and made it, like, let's playable.
Yeah. You should have made it in 2010 and you should have had a buddy who was a big YouTuber.
Yeah. Well, any other thoughts on Terraria?
I wonder how many more final updates they will release.
I don't know.
I wonder if they will make Terraria 3D.
Just skip 2.
Yeah, and just be like, here it is. It's 3D, and they just release Minecraft.
Pretty good.
It could be a strong concept. That's all I'm saying. No, I mean, we talked very little about the game, but the game is like so huge. Sometimes when games are so huge, it's hard to talk about them.
I mean, it's so huge, but also it's basic. We went over the main mechanics. You build a house, you fight things, you dig down and explore things, you find ways to go up and explore things. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And the main game is just the things that you find and are able to do. There's not like a plot. You can't do Mounds Lore Corner for this, really.
No. There's a few big bosses. That's it.
Yeah.
You can play in a hard mode. That's it. That's the lore. Well, are you ready to talk about Dragon Drive?
I'm ready.
A game that no doubt will also still be selling so many copies 15 years from now.
Yes, so Dragon Drive is like...
Drag Drive.
Dragon Drive is like the ARMS of the Switch 2. If anybody remembers ARMS.
I just liked the way you said that, but they gave like something very philosophical and deep for whatever reason.
In that it's like the here's our cool new mechanic that this console does game that comes out on launch for Nintendo systems developed by Nintendo that most of their systems have.
Isn't it funny, by the way? It's another example of that they don't say who developed it game.
Yeah, I did a little, like, I really hadn't looked at, like, they have their planning and development divisions at Nintendo Entertainment. They have, like, 10 plus production groups that all make sort of different games, and they're just called production group number, like Square Enix has like creative division number or whatever.
Yeah.
And so the guess is that it's probably production group 4, which made like Everybody Went to Switch and Labo and Ring Fit and Nintendo Switch Sports. You know, the stuff that requires you to move on the game.
Do you think they'll make a Ring Fit for Switch too?
Oh yeah, I guess they would. The Joy-Con's different. Maybe they'll make an adapter.
Sick.
I don't know. But that's the guess, is it's their number 4 production group made it. But yes, they never publicize the developer of the game until you see credits, essentially.
Really weird behavior.
And maybe not even then. But anyway, Dragon Drive is a sports game where you play 3v3 wheelchair basketball.
Vehicle basketball.
Yeah, right, yes. They really want you to just say vehicle for some reason, even though they're wheelchairs.
They are wheelchairs.
You're a little robot guy, and you move around by, you know, rolling your wheels, and then you also like pass and shoot using your arms. And the way you do this is passing and shooting uses like the gyroscope that's in the Joy-Con. That's no different than
in a normal Switch.
Since the Wii.
An
right?
OG Switch.
However, the Nintendo Switch 2 also has the mouse feature, where you can turn your Joy-Con over like a mouse and essentially use it like a mouse, where it has like a little tracker and it will track where you're going, and you can use the shoulder buttons as like a left-right click, essentially. Not a very good mouse, apparently.
Sure, but cool if you're playing a game that was really for Steam and has been ported to the Switch.
Yeah. I've seen people like 3D print like ways to make it more mouse-like, which is fun, to make it sort of more accessible, because it's not very comfortable to hold it like a mouse.
Which is going to be relevant.
Yes. But anyway, the way you do it in this is like you would be pushing the wheels of a wheelchair. You are using both the Joy-Cons as like a double mouse setup and on a flat surface, or your legs, which apparently works relatively well, provided that you're wearing like pants and not like something looser than that.
Yeah, if you're wearing pajama pants, you might be in trouble.
Yeah, it's just if it bunches up a lot, it probably
break out your skinny jeans.
But yeah, you push, you know, one at a time to turn, and then you know you pick your arms up to like say, "Hey,
Emma
I'm
is
open."
really physically demonstrating this.
It's
right
hard
now.
not to, you know.
I know.
I know the listeners can't see me, but it's easier to explain in showing. But you lift one hand up to wave and say, "Hey, I'm open." You know, do the basketball shooting motion to shoot it at the basket. There's also like a trick system where if you do like a cool sick spin before shooting it and make it in, the number of points you earn from that basket goes up slightly, which is fun.
There's a half pipe on the sides of the court.
Yeah. So you can play either online in a private lobby or in a public lobby, or you can play against bots, which
is bad. You shouldn't do that.
I saw mixed thoughts on this.
Really? Okay, most of the reviews I read were like, the bots are terrible.
I saw at least one or two that was like, they listen to you. So
sure. I just saw that the defense, depending on what difficulty you're on, is either like they don't even know you're there, or they're basketball gods who don't give you any space.
No, I saw one or two that was like, this is fine. The main thing I saw was just wishing there was like more game modes in general.
Yeah.
Or more ways to interact
not a lot of
with the world or whatever.
There's a couple of little mini games that you play between matches that are apparently not very deep, and like
they're
some
like tutorials
cosmetics.
essentially.
Yeah.
They're meant to help you practice certain parts of the game. But
there's really not any variety to speak of in court.
Yeah.
So it's really very simple. And it all really comes down to how much do you enjoy the fake wheelchair motion of using the two Joy-Cons as a mouse. The reviews on this are really mixed. A lot of them are like, the gameplay is pretty fun. A lot of them are also like, oh my god, my arms hurt.
Yes. It is not friendly if you have any sort of repetitive motion risks or weak wrists or any sort of way that you could garner pain through doing something repetitively over and over again. Which, can be fine, right?
Right.
Reviewers are probably playing this maybe more that you are tended to at a time. For what it's worth. I think it's worth putting out there.
Well, it's also interesting to think about, this is like the big demo for the mouse, right? It's cool. It's unique. There's not another game like this, whatever. Emma and I talk all the time on the show about, like, why aren't we doing things that utilize the unique capacities of the console, blah, blah, blah. And, like, this does. You definitely couldn't do this on another console. You couldn't do it on the Switch. Like, this requires those mice. But it's also like, oh, okay. So, like, listener, imagine yourself rolling a wheelchair. Right? Your arms are down by your side and you're like rolling it. I am also demonstrating this as I talk because how could I not? And is that something that is compatible with how you play a video game when you're sitting on your couch naturally? Not super. Like, maybe you can do it on your legs, right? If, like Emma said, if you're wearing the right pants and you don't mind that you're hitting your legs with Joy-Cons over and over.
At least one review I read said that, like, as I said at the beginning in my intro, that their Switch 2 Joy-Cons got stained by
That's so funny.
The denim of their jeans by the time that they were done. There's another one, I can't remember if the same one, that also said, like, they were trying it on, like, the table, which worked, but they didn't feel very comfortable using them that way as a expensive device whose price keeps going up.
Right. Or if you have a nice coffee table in any way.
Yeah.
Like, same concern.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to think about this as a demonstration of that control scheme when the natural, like, so many of the reviews I read were like, actually the way I ended up playing this was I set it up on my computer monitor so I could, like, play at my desk setup.
Yeah.
And, like, that was the way to do it. And I'm like, that's so interesting. That's not how anyone normal is going to do this.
Yeah. And for what it's worth, I do think the pants is the most intended method.
Yeah.
I remember reading about, like, that's what was suggested at, like, show previews.
Yeah.
So it is meant to be like, you just do it on your legs. And it's supposed to function that way. It's not like it needs, like, fine control. Over where it just needs to know that you're making the motion. So yeah, it is supposed to be like that. But yeah, if you were trying to make this into like a serious esports thing, that probably would not be the way to do it.
And I did see several reviews suggest that, I mean, not that Nintendo will do this, but a lot of the reviews were like, well, at my level, the gameplay is fun, but the controls are a little clunky and, like, it seems like it really rewards, like, one particular style of play, and for the casual player, that's going to be, like, how you play. But several of the reviews I read, said, hey, I'm playing this now because it's like playing Splatoon early before everybody got way too good and is going to kick my butt, right? The suggestion that there's a possibility for some very high-level play here for people who would be interested in that.
Yeah,
which
I think
maybe could happen, but...
I think one of the reviews, as I said, was sort of comparing this to ARMS, and it does have some similarities with that. Like, I guess they made an ARMS too, but it was never a popular series for Nintendo. Right? It was sort of a gimmicky thing. But ARMS had, like, character designs.
Yeah.
This does not. It does not have character designs. And one point of critique I saw was very much like, it doesn't really look like a Nintendo game, and it's like, it doesn't really have appealing
it's pretty drab.
Characters going on, which I do think if it had that would be a bit more enticing, but also it didn't really work for ARMS, so
yeah, but people always look back fondly on ARMS, seemingly.
That's fair. But anyway, this is just something that Nintendo always puts out, is like here's our little thingy thing, and then they never really follow it through on most of the other games. Beyond like surface level stuff.
And look, to be fair to this game, it's $20. So it's not like Nintendo is out here being like, here's our $80 tech demo, right? It's a $20 game. If they don't provide any more content for it, well, it's no Terraria, but like they've kind of done an okay thing. I think it suffers from a lot of comparisons, honestly. I mean, it seems cool, but plenty of people were like, don't go into this expecting Rocket League, even though it gives Rocket League, right? And also, obviously, because it's a Nintendo game involving a sport, like, you're gonna compare it to Wii Sports. And plenty of reviews that were like, hey, this seems like Wii Sports, but a little bit more hardcore, and that's cool. But, like, this would have been cooler if it came with 5 other Wii Sports.
In terms of the mouse control thing, I do think it's an interesting and cool concept. Clearly there's some issues with how the Joy-Con 2 is actually shaped and it being comfortable to hold it that way for long periods of time.
Yeah.
I was looking into like, okay, so this far into the Switch 2's development cycle, what games are using the mice, right?
Yeah. Well, nothing's being developed for Switch 2, right? But okay, go on.
Or are supporting the mice. So,
yeah.
A lot of visual novels.
Sure.
A lot of like strategy games.
Sure.
I know Stardew Valley is adding mice controls. Don't know if that's in yet. Metroid Prime 4 is going to have optional mice controls as a FPS. There's a couple other FPSs that seem to support it. Deltarune has a Switch exclusive version of a fight that uses the mice controls. That's like it, right? It's not. I guess I wouldn't necessarily expect there to be like a second one that is like exclusively thinking about the mouse controls. I don't know if it would even be like financially viable as like a third-party developer to be thinking about it like that. I guess, we talked about before how a lot of things are only developing for like PC and Switch. So,
I mean, look, to my continual surprise, as documented on this show, the Switch 2 has had a absolutely meteoric launch.
Yeah.
So, like, on one hand, my like gut reaction is like, no, of course it wouldn't make sense to develop something specifically utilizing the mouse for Switch 2. Like, you're totally writing off being able to play this on like PlayStation or Xbox. But honestly, apparently everybody is buying the Switch 2. So like I don't know, maybe it would. Especially given, I mean, like you said, especially given it creates this like weird Switch and PC pipeline where the common thread is the mouse.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's interesting. But yeah, so far a lot of stuff that's just like, if you were playing this on PC, you might consider using a mice instead of a mouse. Sorry, I'm using the plural and singular whenever I want without consideration. Yeah. You would consider using the mouse controls versus a controller. They've added mouse support for the Switch 2, essentially.
It's interesting that this game, I mean, on one hand, is like a big step forward for representation, right? Big wheelchair basketball game. Not too many of those out there.
No.
But also, I saw at least one Reddit thread that was like, I'm a wheelchair user, and I can't play this game.
Yeah. Nintendo is not a great company for accessibility.
No. And, like, notably, right, ARMS did have a version, like, you could play it with the buttons.
Yes.
If you wanted to. Drag and Drive, which I did almost just call Drag Drive, does not. You have to use the mouse controls, which makes sense to some extent because the game is probably pretty, like, that's the only thing that's interesting about this game. But also is very inaccessible.
Yes. I was seeing that Sakurai was doing his second Air Riders presentation. And he went through the accessibility menu for that game in pretty fine detail. And that seems to be the first accessibility menu that any Nintendo game has ever had. So, there you go.
Slow and steady.
I think it shows how his, like, YouTube design series was, like, helpful for him.
Yeah.
As a developer, too. Because he did do videos on, like, The Last of Us Part 2's accessibility and stuff like that. And yeah, it is very interesting to see, like, and the way they call them, like, vehicles, like you're saying, that seems to be the official language to use for that rather than wheelchairs. Does feel like they kind of didn't think about it.
Yeah.
At all. They're just like, yeah, I guess you would, like, push wheels with the mouse controls.
Yeah.
So let's make vehicles where you, like, push the wheels.
Well,
and then they
on the
made it
flip
and they're
side,
like, oh, wait. No, they're still just vehicles. They're still vehicles.
like, conversely, it also sometimes reads to me as just, like, unnecessarily and blandly PC, right? It's like, oh, like, we can't call these wheelchairs, like, just in case anybody gets offended.
I don't even know if it's that. It's just like
it might not be. I'm just saying it reads as like one of those two extremes of either they did not think about it at all, or they thought about it so much that they were like, oh, like, we can't call this thing what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, I think the thing that really shows that they are not serious about this game in any meaningful way is that it does not have any kind of a ranking system.
Yeah.
So that to me is like the clearest point of evidence that this is a game that is meant to be purchased and played a couple times with your friends, and that's it.
And I mean, hey.
And that's fine.
That's a
There's
game
nothing
with
wrong
value.
with that.
You don't have to make it into an esport.
No. Although I think it would be a pretty cool esport. At least one review pointed out there are not a lot of games, or even like esports, where like literal physical prowess plays into it very much. I mean, obviously, like the ability to, twitch, press a button, right? Or like I don't mean to say that playing games doesn't involve some level of physicality, but this would be an interesting one in that like some literal physical movement is part of the skill.
Is Ring Fit an esport?
That would be sick. Ring Fit Marathon.
Yeah.
Has anybody done that? It was just the New York City Marathon last Sunday. And did anyone do their like e-marathon, their virtual marathon on on Ring Fit? That'd be awesome. That'd be so cool. Actually, it'd be cool if somebody did the actual marathon while holding the Ring Fit guy, too.
And every once in a while, the monsters come out and they have to stop and do squats at it.
That'd be awesome. They should add that for the 50th marathon next year, the occasional squat monster. I'm sure the people would love that. And they'd be like, you're going over the Queensboro Bridge, but wait. Drop down, give me 20 squats. Your form on that one was only okay. I have to do a whole other set.
Yeah. That's what the people want.
That's what the people are craving from their New York City Marathon experience.
Yeah.
So I gotta say, this is no Astro's Playroom.
No.
Which really set the standard for a tech demo.
It's really no Switch 2 welcome tour.
What is that?
It's what it sounds like.
Sure.
It's a fun little diversion for your child who's interested in how electronics are made.
Cool.
That was like the charitable review I read of Switch 2 Welcome Tour.
Anyway, I would sort of like to try, like if I had the opportunity to try Dragon Drive, I think I would enjoy it for 20 minutes in a like, what's happening kind of way.
Yeah. I do think it's a shame that it doesn't have local support.
Yeah.
I don't think it even has like, I mean, theoretically, if you had two devices, you could just set up a private online match. But
sure.
It doesn't even have like that sort of play either.
Well, that feels like the main appeal of this game to me is sitting next to your friends going, like rubbing the controllers on your legs and looking dumb.
Yeah.
And if I have to do that like by myself in a room, like that's not fun. What's fun is like looking next to you and your friend being like, you moron, like you've ripped a hole in your jeans.
Yeah, that would be my actual suggestion for this game more than like adding rankings or anything fancy like that. Is I think it probably should have had some sort of co-op mode. I imagine it probably would have just been hard to figure out what to do with the split screen.
I mean, yes.
Yeah.
But still would be more fun to watch your friends do bad at this. Well, are you ready to mash?
I'm ready to mash.
Okay, what have I got here? I mean, it probably has to use like a weird control scheme of some kind. That feels like the
Terraria,
key.
but you have to make like the repetitive pickaxe motion.
Terraria, but you have to mine.
Yeah.
That would be actually genuinely that would be sick. If you sold here's the thing. If you gave people like a free like all the people who own Terraria, you give them a free copy of a Switch 2 version. But they have to purchase like a pickaxe
extension.
Like supplementary controller.
Like a Labo printout cardboard design that they can build.
I'm imagining something more plasticky, like the Tyco, like a Guitar Hero situation.
Okay,
but
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
if we can use it to sell, like, there's enough of a user base that you could probably get people to buy the proprietary controllers because they love this game and they'd be like, heck yeah, I'm gonna pickaxe.
Yeah.
And if you could turn it around the other way, if you could put the two. You wouldn't be able to do this. You need too many Joy-Cons. But you could turn it around the other way and make it like a sword, too. That would be pretty cool.
That would be cool.
I'm just anything to get some proprietary controllers back in people's homes.
Yeah, that's good.
Maybe that's what they've been working on.
That's probably it, yeah.
That'd be so cool. I'm a real miner in the mines game. This is what the people yearn for. They want that blue collar work.
I've heard that they yearn for the mines.
The children.
I've heard that. No.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a tough one.
All right, let me just keep naming elements of these games.
Sure.
All right. They cost $20 or less.
There you go.
There's wheelchairs involved. There's wheelchairs, there's weird controls. It's kind of like Rocket League. You could probably set up some kind of a like Terraria doesn't have a lot of like PvP stuff. It's like primarily very cooperative. So if you could set up some kind of like 3v3 like sandbox situation. And like I know that ultimately sort of what I'm describing there is Fortnite. But
yes.
But I'm trying to make the PvP not involve guns. It's more like building better castle.
So like Fortnite, if they went towards the building side versus the gun side.
Correct.
Okay.
That might also already exist. Actually. It's a good idea.
How would you like win? What would be the
I think that you would have to be able to set a different win condition. Like it could be like, oh, you beat
like Civilization.
Skeletor. Exactly. Kind of, yeah. Oh, that's true. Okay, that wasn't actually what I meant by that, but that is something that I could have meant. What I meant is you would have the ability to set like a custom win condition, right? So you could be like, the first team to hatch a chicken, right, could win. If you want to set something silly like that, or the first team to build 1,000 gold piece castle or whatever. But you could also, I like the idea that, yeah, you could do like like in Civ, like, oh, I'm going for the tech victory, but unfortunately the person I'm after destroyed me with culture or their army.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting to have different win conditions that you could be working towards at the same time, too. Is what I've created there just civilization, though?
Civilization,
kind of.
but like with pickaxing. You know?
Yeah.
Like mini civilization.
I'd play the hell out of that. To be perfectly honest, like a resource gathering strategy game like that, I'd play the hell out of that.
It's like those YouTubers that make the like simulations in Minecraft where people set up like societies and stuff.
Yeah. You could also just do Terraria, but you're in a wheelchair, and so the world is really inaccessible to you. Which would be good social commentary, I think.
I think you could make like cool gadgets. You could make progression in the same sort of way. You just have to make cool gadgets that make things accessible to you.
Like, that would be a cool take on the sandbox genre, right? Is to like build a more disability accessible world. I see a Games for Change award in my future. Well, I gotta say, I don't think that either of these games is gonna sell. You know what? No, I take that back. I think that some of these games would sell 60 million copies. I think the pickaxe extension controller for Switch 2, because you could use it like the moment. The moment you could create a set of like pickaxe, axe, like whatever standardy, I'm living off the land game things, and if you could get Terraria and Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing to all buy in on using the same proprietary like axe, pickaxe controller situation, bug net, fishing rod. Oh, yo, that's where it's at. A fishing rod extension controller, game over.
Yeah.
The moment you could do that, Nintendo demolishes the rest of the console market.
I mean, the thing is, the Nintendo is selling like the Game Gear, like proprietary setup, the thing that failed really bad for them when they first released it. So they really could release whatever sort of external thing that they wanted, and it would probably be fine for them.
I think I'm onto something here. Well, listeners, unless Emma has any final thoughts?
No final thoughts from me.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
Emma's already asleep, but I have some thoughts.
It's late at noon on Sunday.
Yeah, it is now. I mean, with daylight savings last week, noon is later. Would you buy my pickaxe Nintendo Labo for the low manufacturer suggested retail price of $44.99? Maybe. Do you think that you would ruin your pants or legs or arms playing Drag and Drive? How many times did you hear us say that this episode and think Drag and Drive? Which would probably be a pretty cool game.
Dragons racing cars?
Yeah.
Yes.
I know.
That's sick. That's just a free idea thrown out there.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Didn't Yakuza Like a Dragon already do Dragon Kart? Yes, but they are not literally dragons.
Yeah. Come on. I don't want metaphorical dragons.
Real dragons.
Real dragons.
But listeners, have you played Terraria? How many final updates do you think they'll release before they actually, for real, make a final update? If you have thoughts on this or anything else we talked about this week, hit us up on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, and YouTube at Talk This Podcast. You can also visit our website, www.talkthispodcast.com, where you can read all about the show, check out the games in the hat, and read our blog. But most importantly, if you enjoyed the show, subscribe, why don't you? We're on Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, Pandora Podcasts, online on the app, Overcast, Pocket Casts, wherever you can find podcasts. Go and subscribe to Talk This so you never miss an episode on Sundays. Next week, impossibly, it is 6 weeks in gaming. How did this happen to me? But in 2 weeks, in our pre-Thanksgiving episode, what are we talking about?
I got a great combination this time.
Okay.
For our old game, we're talking about Euro Truck Simulator 2.
Okay, Drag and Drive.
And for our new game, we're talking about Date Everything.
Great. Car dating game? That's a bona fide hit.
Look forward to that.
Listeners, thanks for tuning into this week's show. Can't wait to date some cars in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But in the meantime, Emma, sign us off.
This week, I hope that your repetitive muscle strain gets better.